I'm making this Grinch Cake Pop, and I always sketch out my cake pops so I get a good idea of what shape I'm going for. I'm going to start with a scoop of vanilla cake dough, and I'm going to roll it into a nice smooth ball. And then I'm going to use my fingers to pinch in the side and the bottom to try to make sort of like a fat arrowhead shape. And I'm going to help by using my cake pop stick to really push in the sides. Next, I'm going to dip my cake pop stick into some lime green chocolate and then insert it into the bottom of my head and spread out the excess chocolate. After letting your cake pop dry for a couple minutes, we're going to dip it straight down into our green candy melts, and we're going to tap our wrist lightly to knock off the excess chocolate. Once you're done dipping your cake pops, you can put them to the side and let them dry so that they can be painted on. I'm going to get out my poppy paint starter set, and we'll be using the white, black, thinner, and yellow poppy paint today. Cover your paint palette in plastic wrap and shake your bottles very well before you use them. Mix together about 10 drops of black poppy paint and 3 drops of poppy thinner. Today, we're going to be doing some very fine lines, and you might need to erase a lot, so I like to have very faint black lines to start out. And then later on, I can go in and darken them. But if I need to erase, it'll be super easy to erase because it's so light. Just think of it like drawing with a pencil and then later going over it with pen. So normally I would have started with the nose because it really shows you where everything's gonna go because it's right in the middle of his face. But I started with the right eye because it shows me the height where my nose needs to be. And then I'm gonna go in and do my left eye after I've already done my nose. Now that I've placed my eyes where I want them to go, I can go ahead and draw his furrowed brow, and then I can start to draw his eyebrows on top of his eyes. When I'm done with his eyebrows, I can then place his pupil in there. And since everything's looking really good, I can then start to darken some lines because my paint has now evaporated a little bit and it's a lot thicker than it was before. So now it's going to be a dark black color. You'll see here that I've messed up on his hair on the side, and I use a little bit of Everclear on a Q-tip, get it wet, and then wipe off with the dry side. It's super simple and you can't even tell that I erased it. I'm outlining his whole head now, and I'm doing the left side the same exact way that I did the right. And now I'm going to add a little yellow with a couple drops of white poppy paint and mix really well. And this will be the color that we're going to use for his eyes. And I'm just going to fill it in with a fine tip brush. I did one very thin layer of yellow, and then I added a second coat, and it really pops against the lime green color. And now I'm just outlining his eyes again with a little bit of black, and we're done painting his face. It's time to make our hat, and we're going to start out with some red fondant. You're going to get out more than what you're actually going to need. Cover your surface with some cornstarch, and then roll out your red fondant till it's nice and smooth, and we're going to use a cookie cutter to cut out a circle. Next, I'm going to use a pen blade. You can use a sharp knife and cut out a small piece and roll it into a cone. You'll want to check the sizing of the opening on top of your Grinch's head just to make sure it fits. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and cut off the excess fondant. It should stick together pretty well on the back just from the cutting. Then you're going to smooth out the top into a long cone shape. Bend it over, and we have the shape for our Santa hat. Next, we'll be making the white fluff to go around the bottom of our Santa's hat, and I'm using the same cookie cutter I used earlier for the red part of the hat. I'm just now using the scalloped edge. And I'm going to use a smaller cookie cutter to cut out the middle so that way I can then bend this back around, and we're going to cut it again using the same exact cookie cutter. And now we have a really cute fluffy border for our Santa's hat. I'm going to attach this to the hat using Little Honey's edible glue. You need a very small amount. First, I'm going to stick my hat on the Grinch's head, and I'm attaching it with glue. And then I'll be doing the same with the border to the Santa's hat. First, I'm going to make the tail to go on the end of our hat. It sort of just looks like a little teardrop. Again, a very small amount of this glue goes a long way. I usually let my fondant sit for a couple minutes to get really tacky before I attach it. And then just lay your border on the top of the Santa's hat and cut off the excess on the back. Lastly, I'll attach the tail to the hat with some glue, and I'm all done with my Grinch Cake Pop. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out on any of my new videos.